Okay. Hello, my name is Marissa Fargo, and I am a graduate student at New England College, and I am here to share with you my action research project, Self-Monitoring with Students with Disabilities. Self-monitoring, what is it? It is a process which behavior is controlled over a period of time. Is it easy? No, but it can be done. Why is it important? It is an important skill to learn for anyone at any age, even with students who have disabilities. I have a quote up here that I thought we could read together. Students become self-regulated by setting goals, selecting and using strategies, monitoring performance, and repeatedly reflecting on learning outcomes over a lengthy period of time. Zimmerman. A lot of my research has came from Zimmerman. The research that I found was not what I expected. When I first started this project, I had an idea and a goal that I wanted one article with all self-monitoring and self-corrections with students with disabilities. After a long period of research, I couldn't find anything with students with disabilities and self-monitoring until I came to Zimmerman. He made me change my whole project, and he made me, my whole project has changed since that point. I then redirected into the environments that have to play with self-monitoring with students with disabilities. I wanted to find which environment was better for each student. I wanted to find an article that showcased mostly students with disabilities. After I couldn't find that, I had to create my own research with my own controlled environment. So I came up with the idea of which environment is best for the students with disabilities, which brings me to the classrooms. The classrooms that are in this action research project are a self-contained classroom, which is a place for students with visual, audio, behavior, and processing disabilities where they learn. It has a higher teacher-to-student ratio, and it is set on routine, accountability, and like a relaxed alertness. The other classroom is a mainstream classroom, which has a higher student-to-teacher ratio, so the teachers can't go to each individual student as much as they would in a self-contained environment. My method behind this action research project was collecting all the data that I could in a short period of time. I had 4 weeks to do this project, and I collected data twice a day, every day, 5 days a week. Before I started the project, I pulled the 2 boys aside who are a part of this project, and I explained to them what the process was. They seemed all for it, they were excited about it, and they wanted to self-regulate. They knew what their issue or behavior was that they wanted to control, especially in their mainstream classrooms. The data that I took was taken the first 15 minutes of their mainstream math class, which they have together, and the last 15 minutes of their math class. I used a checklist, and I asked them every day before their class started how they were feeling, if they had their homework, and were they prepared. Those 3 questions did not change throughout the entire project. I also had a checklist of observations that were during that class period, during the mainstream time. The change in routine, the loudness of the classroom, and little pop quizzes and things like that happened during the day. Things that were unexpected. The time that I did this was February 4th to March 11th. The results were completely different than what I thought. Student A and B did self-correct in both of their environments. They were successful. Student A self-corrected 13% of the time in their mainstream classroom, while student B self-corrected 33% of the time in the self-contained room. Student B was prepared for class 50% of the time, and A was only prepared 43% of the time. You might think that the percentages are lower, but after a long period of time, the percentages get a lot smaller, and it was over a 4-week period. Reasons reason to continue my research is I want what is best for these boys, and I want them to feel as comfortable as they can. If we continue this, if I loop with those boys next year and I continue to take the data and I can expand the data over a long period of time, I can show them their growth, and we can target a different behavior that they can work on, and only positive things can come out of this. If we do it 7th grade and 8th grade, then by the time that they get to high school, they can do it without me. That's my goal. And I would send off the information to their 9th grade teachers in high school if they would allow me to. I also wanted to bring this to I want to bring awareness to our school that even if you have a disability, you can self-correct it. Nothing changes you from a typical to a student with a disability. You can correct your behavior. It might be more difficult and it will take a longer process, but it is possible. Okay. My results, like I said earlier, were completely different than what I had thought. I thought student B would feel more comfortable in the mainstream classroom while he felt a lot more comfortable in the self-contained room. Student B did not didn't do as well when there wasn't a specific routine. When the class was louder in the mainstream classroom, student B started to do his behaviors and it knocked him down on a confidence level. He still rose to every occasion. He did his work on time. He did it. You could just tell how flustered he was, and it was harder for him to self-correct. Student A, I thought, would do way better in the self-contained room than the mainstream room, but it was flipped. He showed all of his behaviors in the self-contained room because I think he felt more comfortable in that environment, and that's where all of his friends are. And in the mainstream room, he was tunnel vision for math. That's all he wanted to do, which is great. If I had time to redo this project, I would collect more data. I would change my data tools. I don't think I would use a checklist. I would ask more questions. I would change the questions every week to challenge the students, see, more in depth, or have a journal for them, because I would want them to reflect on their own journey, not just have me say, you did such a great job, you really grew, this is your percent, but what does that mean to them as a student unless they can reflect on it themselves? I would love to, like I said, loop with these boys and continue this in the future. The resources I have provided are just a few of the ones that are from my actual research project. These are my favorites that I used. 2 of them are from Zimmerman, and one is the only website that I found that gave accurate steps on how to self-monitor if you aren't an educator, if you are just a mom or a dad or someone who just wants to monitor your own behavior. So I would go to that website. Are there any questions?
Do you think that if you had more students next year, that the other 2 students would feel more comfortable about this project?
Yes. If I could redo it, I would add more students to my list now, but I ran out of time, and I didn't get all of my signatures, so I would love to continue with that and try and benefit more students, as many as I could.
Did you see a change after you stopped taking the data with the students' regulation skills?
I'm really glad that you asked that because I did. On student A, their behaviors went back to not doing as well. Student B kept with their behaviors. Student B corrected those behaviors. And now when student B does his behaviors in his mainstream class, he kind of looks at me like this to see if I noticed. And then he puts his hands down and he's ready. And it makes me so happy that he is continuing it with me and that he knows that he wants to correct that behavior. So I think it would benefit both of those boys and other boys to continue this research project through the next year and loop and even into high school, so I can provide them with the skills that they can continue it for high school by themselves.
Will these skills translate into high school?
I'm hoping that they will. They're skills that will set them apart from other students. They'll be noticed if they continue with these behaviors. So if they correct them now, I think that they would be more successful and they would focus more on their work and not on their behavior. Because, like I said before, it's a confidence issue. Student B knows that he's doing this and tries to stop, and he has, but he has told me that he's felt uncomfortable doing it because he doesn't know how to stop sometimes. But he's gotten better at it. So I think that that's a positive. Do you have another question?
No, you had said you got signatures from the parents. Did you share this information with the parent?
Yes.
Especially the little guy who's
Yes.
really motivated?
The two students involved have access to.
Now, was the mom trying to continue the behavior, at home?
I haven't spoken to her about that, but I have shared the information with her. And I'm hoping that she has, because I've seen an improvement in him. I can only hope for the best. And I know that he has a strong home life. So I think that he will be very successful in now and years to come.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.